final speaker tonight is the man himself, the author of the book that we're launching, the organiser for the Socialist Party, Anthony Main. So please welcome him.
Thank you so much, Mel, and thanks everyone for coming along here tonight. It's been fantastic. I mean, as both Steve and Mel have indicated already, this publication is unique in a lot of ways because, I mean, for the most part, big business interests, they're getting their way in most parts of the world. It's not many places in the world, actually, where major construction projects, multi-billion-dollar projects like toll roads, like the one we dealt with here, are being stopped. And I think that's why it was actually quite a pleasure, actually, to be able to write a book about an occasion where the community has gotten organised and actually been able to beat back the big end of town. And that made writing this book a lot easier than some of the other stuff that we have to write about actually on a more regular basis. But I mean, it used to be the case that people thought that they go to work, they pay their taxes, and then the government take those taxes and they use it to provide services like schools, like hospitals, like roads and that type of a thing. But we've got a situation now where increasingly people are going to work, paying their taxes, giving it to the government, and rather than providing those services, the governments of the day are finding ways to funnel that money into the coffers of big business, whilst at the same time asking us to pay again, whether it either be via private fees or tolls or whatever it might be. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's an outrageous situation. I mean, at some stage, a lot of people might call that corruption, but unfortunately that's how modern day capitalism works. And I think the end result is that we have from that type of a process taken place is that there's a huge gap now between rich and poor that's taken place, as Steve indicated just earlier on. I mean, people will actually look back at this situation and ask, why the hell did we put up with this rot? It's absolutely outrageous the more and more that you think about it. But I think putting an end to this rot will definitely come. But in order for that to come, I think first people need to gain some experience and they need to gain confidence. They need to know that they are right and they need to know that it's their agency and that their role and that they can actually intervene and change the situation. And I think it's struggles like those against the East-West Toll Road that really give people this type of confidence and give people this type of experience. I think when we first started writing this book, when I did the first draft and when I actually documented a whole lot of stories about all the interesting things, if you like, from a lot of people's point of view, the fist fights we had, the arguments, the love affairs, all the juicy gossip and all that is all documented on my laptop at home. But as we actually got into...
You're a rich man, are you?
As we actually got into editing this book down and discussing what we really wanted to get out of it, I think the main thing that we decided to do, we decided to leave a lot of that stuff out and we decided to turn it into...
a romance.
But that said, if you buy me a couple of beers after this, you might get some of those stories out of me.
Volume 2.
There could be a volume 2, we never know. But we decided to write a book that actually tried to draw out the lessons, explain what took place, what were the forces involved, and what were the lessons that people can use for future campaigns. And I think, because it is a serious question, how was it that the Herald Sun and 3AW basically described as pests and troublemakers and no good ratbags, and we had no chance of winning at the start, everyone was against us, we all know that. But how was it that those people managed to push back some of the biggest multinational companies in the world, actually? And how was it that we were able to stop that massive transfer of wealth that Mel talked about, where billions of dollars of taxpayer money was going to be, shoveled into the coffers of big business? That's a really interesting question and something that I think these are the types of things that we try to draw out in the book. Now, I must say, there is definitely going to be some people, or maybe a lot of people, I don't know, that don't agree with the analysis and with with some of the stuff that we've written in the book. We say it from the outset, we've written this book unashamedly from the perspective of the Socialist Party, a party that was involved going way back. Actually, in 2008 was the first time that I was involved in the campaign. And we do definitely in the book make a critique of other political forces. We don't make any apologies about that. But what we are hoping that the book does is that it provokes some debate. We're hoping that, if this publication actually deepens the level of discussion, deepens the level of understanding, gets people talking about how we're going to actually win in the future, well, then that is going to put us in a much, much better situation for next time. I mean, already, as Steve indicated, we're seeing elements of a history war taking place, where many other people are telling us that we should be out thanking Labor for their role in stopping this project. Well, as has already been said, we remember the time when Labor supported this. We remember the time when Labor said that they would continue to honour the contracts if they were signed before the election. And unfortunately, we've even got people here tonight that were forced to leave their neighbourhood because Labor took so damn long to get their stuff together. And unfortunately now we've got a lot of people that have had to leave communities that they've lived in all their life. And you'll forgive us if in the book we don't actually thank Labor for that at all. I think the reason we try to explain in the book that why was it that Labor was forced to change, it wasn't through goodwill. We have to be honest about that. Labor were forced to change because of the situation, the political situation that our campaign created. And the primary driver to that was the fact that ordinary people, they got organised and they took matters into their own hands. That was a key feature. The community pickets created a dynamic whereby Labor could not possibly go to the election continuing on and wanting to build the East-West link. We had a process in train where on the one hand we were actually winning the propaganda war. Don't underestimate the intelligence of ordinary people, despite the fact that there was pages and pages of rubbish printed in the Herald Sun, hours upon hours of propaganda on the mainstream papers, and maybe one of the only media outlets apart from the Socialist magazine was 3CR and Annie and other people like that, and Anthony Snowden here, who actually got out there and told the truth, but unfortunately weren't speaking to the millions of people that the Herald Sun were. But despite that, we were actually managed to win the propaganda war in the sense that the vast bulk of Victorians either were opposing the project, and polls indicated that, or at the very, very least had major questions about it because of the secrecy and all the rest of it. And that was an important part of what we'd done. But on the other hand, what Labor knew is if they had won the election, which is where the polls were pointing, they would have been coming to power, and for them to have to continue and build this project in the midst of an already aroused community who'd already demonstrated their determination about picketing and campaigning and standing up against it, that would have been an absolute disaster for them and something that they really desperately tried to avoid. The pickets not only impacted on the government's timeline, on their schedule, they not only helped put the issue on the map and gave us a platform in order to be able to speak about pro-public transport solutions, but they also had a major political impact on Labor. Now that's the story that we try and tell in this book, and we try and draw out the pressure that we exerted on Labor and what did work and what didn't work and so on. And I think that type of a story is not important necessarily from the characters or whoever was involved, but because if it's understood and if the lessons are replicated, then we have a much better chance of pushing back big business interests going into the future in other areas of our lives. And I think for the Socialist Party, the main thing, look, to be honest, it wasn't that the road itself, as destructive as that was, as horrible as that was, but it was the fact that we wanted to get involved primarily because this was a total rort. We were not prepared to see billions of dollars of taxpayer money poured into the coffers of big business for a road that wasn't going to work and all the rest of it. Definitely there was issues with people's homes, Royal Park, dividing communities, all the rest of it. But the thing that got us out of bed at 5 a.m. or sometimes earlier every morning was that we wanted to challenge this big business domination that takes place basically in every aspect of our lives. I think we wrote this book so that the people in other campaigns can learn from our experiences, and also as a small contribution towards the need to put an end to this total rot, actually, to the profiteering and the rot that is modern day capitalism. We saw, from the Socialist Party's point of view, this dispute as part of a process of building a new type of society, a type of society where people and the environment are put first and not profits. And that's the type of thing that drove us to get involved. We definitely hope that people read the book. It's nice that you've bought it, but maybe try and read it as well. We definitely want people to discuss the book, but more importantly, we hope people replicate the type of struggle that's explained in the book and outlined in the book. And if that happens, writing it would be more than worthwhile. I just want to wrap up. I just want to say just a couple of really quick thank yous, because a lot of people helped with this publication. We published a lot of different people's photos. People helped edit it. They made comments, all the rest of it, and all of that was very much appreciated. Obviously, Steve helped a lot. Chris helped a lot. Simon Strong, who's here tonight, helped a lot. And also there was others who I don't have time to thank. But primarily, I must say that this book would not have been produced if it wasn't for the work of Mel Gregson. Not only did she edit the book, she laid it out, she designed the front cover, she did a whole lot of things, but most importantly, from my point of view, it was the role that she played during the course of the dispute that actually helped to shape things. Because people think I was up there facilitating a lot of these meetings, and I spoke at a few rallies and all the rest of it, but all the ideas about strategy, about tactics, the politics, that all came from Mel in meetings and discussions that we had in Trades Hall, and that was very important, and from my point of view was totally indispensable. I must say, whilst thanking all the people that helped produce this thing, you wouldn't have been able to write a book about a dispute if it wasn't for the people that actually engaged in the struggle, that actually got out of bed at 5 o'clock every morning and put themselves on the line and got in amongst the thick of it. They're the people that I really want to thank tonight. A lot of them are here. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for helping us to launch this book tonight. Please stick around and enjoy the night with us. Cheers. The book's available online on the Socialist Party website, sp.org.au. It's also available in bookstores. Readings are going to be stocking it, and other good bookstores in Melbourne will also be taking it in the course of the next few weeks. So, yeah, we'd love for people to buy it, read it, discuss it, but also, as I said earlier on, to mimic the types of struggles that's explained in that book. That's how we're going to beat back big business interests, not just against road projects, but against all sorts of things where big business is dominating aspects of our lives.